Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
I remember a few months ago there was a thread around here about weird phenomena from childhood. These threads are common, and I always find interesting to read some of the stories. So I noted that breathing underwater was often repeated. Also levitating from small heights. I'll start with one of these. Be me, around 7, at the sea with my cousin. He says, "Let's see who spends more time without breathing. We don't dive, just keep our nose and mouth underwater level." I realize it's been too long. My cousin has given up. I don't feel the urge to breathe. In fact, I've been breathing the whole time. I dive, but the effect only seems to happen when I'm not too deep. It happens several times more, and just stops when I'm around 14.
Well, mine is very simple. I have a lot of memories of me playing with my sister when we were kids. I remember her birthdays and shit, like for many years. But my parents say I never had a sister. It's not scary or interesting, but it's true.
Maybe your parents lost a baby before you were born and you were playing with her spirit. She was your imaginary friend who seemed alive, but only you could see her.
I don't know why, but just in the last few months I am learning about my fear of water because of repressed memories suddenly coming to light. It was not about drowning, but being assaulted at a very young age. I have been training myself to be okay with water on my face, as I never knew what the issue was until very recently. About 4 years old. My cousin is babysitting my 2 siblings and I, be the youngest of 3. My cousin is a 14-year-old girl and my oldest sister is 11. Bath time. My cousin is dumping water with a measuring bowl over and over. I scream for help because I can't breathe. She yells at me to shut up. I try to escape from the bathtub, but she pins me to the tub bottom. She turned on the water faucet over my face, still yelling and calling me names. After bath, she dries me off with the hair dryer on high blast, full heat, level 6. First degree burns on shoulder, stomach, and neck. Dresses me and throws me into bed. Threatens to beat me if I woke up for any reason. Overhear her beating my brother and sister for stealing a cookie from the kitchen. We never told our parents. None of us remembered the incident until just a few months ago. My cousin is now still abusive and took her 15-year-old daughter out of protective custody to Texas to escape indictment for buying her oldest daughter liquor while driving under the influence well over the legal limit. About 2 or 3 times, it was her 5th DUI. Finally being okay with water, but now have twice more reason to hate my cousin. Every time I shower or go swimming, I remember being babysat by my cousin. Memory is a bitch.
Be me. Be around 7 or 9. Family always camped at random lakes in Canada as mini-adventures, at the beach of one of these lakes. Befriend a kid and play at the beach, both families at the lake for some time. Keep up-to-date friendship. One day she says that there's human larvae that eat human flesh that exist. The author that wrote a book about it forgot it existed. Said she was lying. Be at a rock face at the beach, she uses a plastic shovel, the kind that kids use to build sandcastles, and picks up some small creepy creature. It is slimy and peachy skin-colored and has its eyes closed and 2 little arms and 2 little legs, or 4 arms, I don't know. Asks me to touch it. I do. Asks me to hold it with the shovel. I do. It opens its eyes that are all black. I nope out of there and drop it to the ground. This is by far the strangest experience I had as a child.
Be me. Weird stuff happens to me in my sleep all the time, even to this day. In this specific case, I'm about 10. Tired, about 9 p.m., decided to sleep. Go to my room, close the door, turn off the light. Remember wearing a white tank top and pink pajama shorts to bed. Crawl into bed, get cozy. Close my eyes and fall asleep for about 10 seconds, then instantly open my eyes. Look around the room. Looks exactly the same way it did a second ago, only now more alive. Look down at my body, wearing the same outfit I had on when I fell asleep. The room is still pitch black, but for some reason this doesn't matter. I can still see as if it wasn't. I look up. I can see the ceiling, but I can also see the sky. It's pretty. I think I was looking at the sky too long, because it started to get closer and closer to me. I realize it's not getting closer to me. I'm actually getting closer to it. When I realize this, I bump into the ceiling that's inches from me, and the view of the sky goes away. By this point, I'm a little confused, but in no way scared. I look down and see me, laying in my bed still, also wearing the pink shorts and white tank top I am currently wearing. How? I'm here by the ceiling, not there, in the bed. Wait, what don't get it .mp4. I start to freak out for a split second. When I do, I feel a silver light inside of me connected with a silver light coming from the bed me. Start floating back down to the bed version of me, guided by this weird silver light. The closer I get to bed me, I can see my face and body a little better. The bed version of me is fast asleep. It doesn't notice anything that's happening. The floating version of me makes contact with the bed version of me. Everything goes dark. I realize it's because my eyes are closed. Open them. I'm no longer floating. I'm in my bed. Look around the room. It's a little too dark now to see much. Look down at my body. It's in the exact same position as the bed version of me was a second ago. What? Become extremely tired? Fall asleep instantly.
I don't know if this counts, but I'll just tell it anyway. Be about 11. Wake up feeling strange. Everything is blurry. I feel like I'm looking through another person's eyes. Just lay in bed for hours looking at the ceiling. Start to sit up, and I have to use all my strength. Legitimately freaking out. I have no idea what is happening, and I have no idea what I should do. Just sit there slumped on my bed while my mind goes a mile a minute. Eventually stand up and shuffle to the living room while looking at the floor. Have to strain to look up at my parents. Try to explain to them, and they just laugh. WTF? Why aren't they worried? Shuffle back to bed with no help or concern from parents. Repeat cycle for 3 days, with me shuffling out to tell my parents something is wrong with me about 6 times a day. They show no concern and laugh it off every time. Begged them to take me to a hospital. I was on the verge of tears, but had no idea if it came out this way because everything I did seemed very robotic to me. I just felt like crying inside. Eventually wake up feeling like myself. Whenever I bring it up to my parents, they just laugh and tell me that it was nothing.
I've actually never told anyone this. I wonder if anyone else has had something similar happen. Grandmother on my father's side passes away while I'm still basically a baby. This woman borderline raised me up until this point. Born with a physical disability, Mom went and had a mental breakdown and couldn't handle it, I suppose. Grandma, or Nanny as everyone calls her, took over and basically mothers me. After she died, I grew up a pretty lonely child. No close motherly bonds. One night, for some reason, was just really sad. Must be about 6 or so. Looking at my nightstand has a plastic ballerina figure. Ask the nanny if she's with me and tell her I'm so alone. Ask her for a sign. Say over and over, please give me a sign. The ballerina starts to sort of wiggle, falls off the nightstand. Instead of feeling afraid, I feel kind of safe and warm. Go to sleep happy. Don't tell anyone ever. I'm not sure if this even happened or if I was just a lonely little kid, but it's always in the back of my mind.
Be between 3 to 6 years old. Every night I get up and cross the hall to go to the bathroom. If I look down the hall, I know I will see a green man. Looks like the mayor from HR Pufnstuf. Terrifies me, but I keep watching the show anyway. See this guy every night standing at the end of the hallway at the foot of our stereo. The whole family knows I see him. My older brother teased me about it. Little sister non-existent, then baby. See him for a few years until parents split. We move and older kids stay with dad. Years later, after not visiting for years, visit mom, she has the old stereo. Sleep on her living room floor with brother. See a man-shaped shadow standing near the stereo. Brother sees it too, freaked out. Fast forward through more years of no visit to my mother's. Go visit mother again. New house, new husband. Have to sleep in the basement alone. Brother not with. See the stereo in the basement as mom shows me the bedroom down there. She confirms it is the old one from the old house. I make a joke about it being a haunted stereo. My little sister, who has always lived with mom, says, "You mean the green guy?" She saw him as a green cartoon guy from I can't remember which show. We had never discussed this before. Hadn't seen each other in years. Both of us still remember. Mom still has the stereo out in a shed.
Wow, Weirdo P, I had almost the same thing happen. Be me. 6 years old, swimming like a champ. Decide to dive under and swim like a shark. Underwater, chilling, realise I've been under a while. Freak out, then start feeling like I can breathe water. Inhale deeply, actually feel like I'm breathing air. To this day, I remember very clearly being submerged for 10 plus minutes, breathing fine the whole time. I was swimming alone, so no one will ever know. Besides X.
When I was about 5 years old, I moved to a rural town in Canada. I lived in this house that was over 100 years old, a really nice place with high ceilings, etc. Anyway, I remember very vividly at night being visited by a man, and I would talk to him. I remember him protecting me from these dark shadow creatures on the other side of my room. He made me feel very safe and secure. I feel maybe that it was my grandfather who died before I was born.
Be me. 15-year-old me. Find a weird pendant type deal in my house whilst cleaning, because grounded. Ask my mother and sister. Claim it isn't theirs and none of their friends would wear that ish. Keep it around. Fast forward a week. Creepy shit happens. I'm always home alone so no one believes me. Cupboards, all the cupboards open up while I leave the kitchen. My name is called in my ear with the feeling of being watched. Keep the pendant anyway. Huge argument with my parental unit because I was a teenager with angst. Feel the need to wear it. Feel fury grow while I wear it. Holes in closet doors. I'm typically non-violent. Scares me, so I take it off. The same night, I lay in bed until 2 in the morning, sweating in the middle of winter in Michigan. Out of nowhere, all energy drains from me. I feel like I'm being pinned while I struggle to move. Head snaps to one side and I pass out. I'm dreaming that I'm watching myself from the closet. My body is wildly moving about and levitating off my bed. I stand over myself. My body drops, and I wake up. No energy to call for help. Fall back asleep. The next day, I brought the pendant to my best friend's pagan mum. Fast forward a week, tells me it was evil and she was forced to burn it. K.jpg.
This isn't really a childhood story. I was about 16 when it happened. But I think it's worth sharing. My parents divorced, and my dad just married a new woman about a year ago. We moved out of her old house into a new one. Really nice place. My room is in the basement suite setup. Have my own bathroom and living room. Night 1. Sleep in my new room. All is well. Wake up. Get in the shower. I realize that I'm bleeding. Had a deep thin cut down my thigh, but I shrugged it off as nothing. Tell myself I scratched my leg in my sleep. Night 2. I wake up with the same bleeding cut, this time on my arm. Night 3. Same cut on my back. No way I could have reached to do this to myself. This continues for about 6 nights when I decide to move my room to somewhere else. Nothing strange has happened since, but the whole family gets creeped out by that room. I also have a story from my stepdad's childhood. Stepdad is about 10. Lives in Blue Ridge Mountains, very rural. Some Indian tribe lived on his land years ago. He finds arrowheads and that sort of thing often. Gets into collecting Indian artifacts that he digs up around their house and the woods nearby. Shows his collection to people as it grows. Someone gives him a tip that an Indian chief is buried on a hill past the woods. Stepdad goes there, middle of the day. Sun is out, not a cloud in the sky. This place is miles from his house. It's a big hill clear from the forest, with one massive oak tree at the top. Shovel in hand, starts heading up the hill. Strange feeling. The sky begins to darken. Storm clouds roll in faster than anything he's ever seen. Goes up the hill just a little bit further. Lightning strikes close to him. He nopes out of there, runs home, and stops collecting. The weather was fine the rest of the day.
I have one. Can anons tell me if this means that I was a walk-in spirit, or what else it could mean? Be me. Wake up in my bed. Age 3. Think to myself, why the hell can't I remember anything? I literally cannot remember anything from before now. Another one? A little more paranormal. Be me, age 3. In the bathroom of the condo that my family was living in. Use a step stool to get up to the bathroom counter. There's a large mirror, and I can see my reflection. See on the counter my dad's razor for shaving. Decide to pick it up. A note is that when this happened, I couldn't move my eyes independently from my head yet, so when I wanted to look at something I had to move my head around. I'm looking at the razor in my hand, and then I look back up to my reflection in the mirror. I see myself, as well as the whole mirror, absolutely caked in blood. I hadn't cut myself, but I saw everything soaked in blood, including me. Don't feel scared by this. All the while, I don't really have many thoughts. I'm just taking what's happening in. I put the razor back on the counter and look back up to my reflection. Everything has gone back to normal. No blood anywhere. Get down and go about the rest of my day. The last one is a little more spooky. I've always figured that it was simply some kind of guardian spirit giving me a vision, or some kind of premonition as to what would have happened had I not put the razor down.
Be me. A wee lad. Probably like 1st or 2nd grade or around that. Can't remember. School had a lot of pavilion sections between classrooms, barely any hallways with actual walls. The teacher brings the class for a little trip to another area of the school. Single file line, everyone. Before going outside from a pavilion, see an impossibly large hornet on a classroom window. This thing was easily as big as a bird. The teacher simply gestures to us to tread away from the hornet. Not a word was really said, just me along with other students staring at this absolute monster of a bug while walking past. A huge ass hornet never brought up ever. Now here's the thing. I remember seeing another post on here a long time ago mentioning a very similar experience. To summarize, someone shares their story as a kid with his parents on the beach before seeing huge ass hornets eating a dead seagull or something. His parents guided him away. Has anyone else ever seen these hornets? I can't really find anything trying to search it up. Maybe I'm just stupid and just thought there was a huge ass hornet, who knows?
Be me 6 years ago. Washing dishes at a restaurant at 20 years old feel like I'm letting my dreams die. Incredibly hopeless, yet still game. Smoking a cig on break one day, staring at a wooden fence, and I ask eye in the sky to do or show something to keep me from turning into a normie. Didn't really care if my prayer was answered, but I was sincere nonetheless. Hung out at a friend's house that night or the next night, stayed a while and went home shortly after. Laid in bed and tried to go to sleep. Felt manic warm pressure on my forehead right on the third eye. Saw faint dancing red, white, blue squiggles behind my closed eyes. Never had anything like this happen, high or not, but my intuition was telling me that something was going to happen. Squirming in anxiety and fear, didn't want to surrender. Let go and see a vision of myself walking outside of a gated graveyard in the dead of night. The view goes above my head and I see that I'm oblivious to a corpse following me about 5 feet away. I see a close-up of the corpse's face and its skin is gray. Eyes are gray with no pupils, and it can't close its jaw, so it looks like it's yawning or screaming in terror. The vision lasts only about 5 seconds. No more pressure on my forehead or manic energy. I was fascinated by the vision and grateful that my prayer was answered so it didn't traumatize me or anything.
I had a weird deja vu or time travel experience as a kid. Be me, be 5. Wake up to my mom waking me up for kindergarten. I didn't want to go because I kinda hated kindergarten. She tells me it's Friday, so the week is almost over. Go to kindergarten, walking through the hallway. Notice they changed a lot of stuff like posters. 2 new posters with a drawing of the sun and moon were added, obviously to teach us how to spell them. Remember a bottle of glue just taking an empty spot. Go through the day as usual. Teacher teaches us to read or whatever she was teaching. The rest of the day I pretty much forgot. Sleep. Wake up to my mom waking me up for kindergarten. She's standing and speaking just as she did the day before. It's Friday and the week is almost over. This took me by surprise and didn't question it much. Go to kindergarten. The hallway had the same poster of the moon and the sun. Go to the teaching room and the glue was in the same position. Teachers teach us the same things. Forget the rest of the day, but I remember by the end of it I was weirded out. I don't know what to make of it.
Be me, maybe 6-ish or 8-ish years old, inside a train in Poland, with my mom and a friend of hers. Start smelling cheese. It's really strong. Look out of the window. There is a train that is going at the same speed as us and is perfectly aligned as if the windows match the height of our windows. The people on the other train are wearing a suit and are completely yellow. No face, eyes, or features, just a yellow silhouette of a head wearing a suit. The cheese smell intensifies. Look at my mom and tell her. She just nods and kind of ignores me. What? Ask her if she can give me my juice. She does. Look out of the window. Still there. I don't remember what happens next.
I recently remembered a childhood memory from when I was about 5, maybe 4. thunderstorm at night. Ask Mom and Dad if I can sleep with them. End up sleeping between them in their bed. Always takes me a long time to go to bed. Not afraid of lightning because with my parents now. Pass the time by watching the thunder light up the room. A figure appears after a flash of light. Looks like some kind of Matrix cyberpunk woman with a slight green glow around her. Sort of reminiscent of Shodan. The figure is holding some kind of device, also growing green. The figure starts slowly moving across the room, all in my field of view in front of the bed. Every time lightning flashes, I can't see her. Visible again when it's dark. I don't exactly remember how long this lasted for, or if she went away before I fell asleep. I do remember that I wasn't really scared or anything. In fact, for some reason I remember being extremely neutral about the whole thing, like it was just some regular occurrence that happens during a lightning storm. I think I told my parents about it, but of course they just dismissed it as a dream. Looking back on it, I don't think it was a dream given how realistic and vivid it was, so maybe the prosaic answer was some kind of illusion induced by the darkness.
Be me. 8 years old and laying awake at Grandpa's house. Grandpa's house has always been off-putting as it's across the street from a graveyard and a stretch of woods. Constant hum of distant highway. Eerie.mp3. I woke up next to the dead body of Grandma in the same bed 2 years before. May or may not be related to the strange events I've experienced in this house. Look at the green glow of the analog alarm clock. 2 a.m. Notice something in the bottom peripheral and freeze. Shitbricks.zip. I look down to see a 2-foot-tall, beady black-eyed creature covered in light gray fur and kind of square in build. Long, flat, and rectangular snout and defined eyebrows. A very intelligent-looking creature staring at me inquisitively. Can't recall if it had antlers or ears. Suddenly, fear is replaced with calm and the world grows brighter as I gaze into the creature's eyes. Suddenly, I am standing in the driveway. No sun in the sky. No wind, no hum of the highway, yet the sky is lit up by this artificial gray. The thing is standing 5 feet in front of me. It speaks to me and tells me something I can only remember in vague moments of déjà vu. The world whites out again and I am back to staring at the alarm clock. 4:24 a.m. I run out of bed and wake up Grandpa. Logically thinking would lead me to write this off as simply a dream, yet it always felt like it was something much more. The glimpses I get into what it told me usually have something to do with some event that occurred in an ancient or otherwise parallel reality of the surrounding forest.
Be me, aged 7 or 8-ish, mid-late 90s. Recently moved into a new house in the UK by moorland. Reoccurring dreams that I am harassed by small and menacing bright blue fairies, pulling my toes and punching throwing things at me. Usually end up fighting these things and wake up suddenly. Annoy parents by shouting and screaming upon waking up. Dismissed by parents as a nightmare. One day I decide to test whether these are dreams, leave a pillow at the end of my bed for several nights thinking that I wouldn't remember it was there when dreaming. Fairy attack, pillow at end of bed, not a dream.jpg. Somehow push the pillow up into the fairy and deliver a sharp kick to its face. Fairy is stunned. Grab it but its neck and jump out of bed, shouting at parents to come and look. Fairy dematerializes just as I reach the door. I'm scolded and told it's a nightmare again and to go back to sleep. Fairy visitations abruptly stop. Routinely see entities out of the corner of my eye when walking on the moors into adulthood. These things looked similar to the ones in the second Harry Potter film but were bigger, at least to me as a kid, and didn't have wings. Less related, but I nowadays dream rarely, though when I do it's very vivid and surreal. For the most part, I attribute the above to hypnopompic and did have frequent sleep paralysis episodes into my teens, often accompanied by a presence in my room and a loud rumbling noise that to me felt like a UFO hovering over the house. Said presence persists into adulthood, feels like a demon is sapping my energy, loosh, life force, on the brink of falling asleep. Sorry for the blog post. Just remembered another one. 1998. In the school playground, morning break. Clear sky, sun and moon visible and is full white. Another object about a quarter the size of the moon is present, circular, much darker grey colour, looks much nearer than moon that is in atmosphere, but still distant, hovering directly over the playground. Point this out to all the kids in my class and they see it. Dismissed by playground attendants as just the moon. Cognitive dissonance when we point out that this is elsewhere. This object is distinct, not the moon. Determine amongst my fellow pupils that the moon has moved over the course of recess, though this object remains stationary. Object remains in the sky in the same spot during lunch break, and we try to ignore it and carry on playing. Object no longer in the sky at the end of the school day.
From a young age, up until about age 10, I used to experience Alice in Wonderland syndrome, like once or twice a year. It was never preceded by a flu or anything. I just randomly wake up in the middle of the night with it. Never the exact time of year, but always just once or twice within the same month. Everything would look too far away or too tall, while somehow also too close, too small at the exact same time. Silence felt deafening, and even the slightest sound would echo in my head like a reverse delay effect, where the echoes would get louder and louder until it felt like it was shouting at me. Came with a general feeling of anxiety and also gave everything my hands or feet touched a really uncomfortable texture, or would make everything I picked up feel both tiny but also too big to hold simultaneously. I could never get back to sleep during the experience, so I'd just pace around my bedroom till it passed, which only took about half an hour. I never told anyone about it, and I'd completely forgotten about it until I was in my late teens and tried tripping on DXM. I was wondering why the effects felt so familiar, and all of a sudden all those experiences came rushing back to me. Never even knew it was a relatively common thing with a name till that trip inspired me to look it up.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.